Okay, chale, let's begin. I think it has also started. The recording is also started. Okay, everyone, chale, let's begin. I'm sorry for the delay. Let's start. Okay, so first of all, if you have any general questions, let me know. I'll start with answering questions on Zoom first of all, and then people on YouTube, I'll also be answering your questions then. Let's begin with some general questions in the beginning. उसके बाद फिर अगर कोई भी specific questions हैं जो you want me to solve from past papers, we could discuss them as well. Let's start. Okay, so okay. In questions involving reverse normal or inverse normal, what do we do if we are not getting an exact answer? Exact answer का क्या मतलब है? अच्छा, for instance, if we need to add 1, 5 to the number, but the third decimal place column has 1, 4, and then 1, 7. Okay, so in normal distribution, when we're doing inverse normal, in inverse normal, let's suppose you have something like this. So you have probability 7080, let's say. Okay, probability 7080. So what you would do in that case would be you would look at the table, see the value that is immediately smaller than that. That's 0.7054, right? So the first decimal place is going to be 0.5, second is going to be 4. So we've got 0.54 from there. Now find the difference. It's 26, right? Now you go to the right side and you are saying, what if we don't get an exact value? In this case, we are getting an exact value. No, we're not. 26. So we have 26 there, right? There's 26 that we need to add more to it. In the table, we have 24 and 27. What we do is whichever of those two numbers is closer to 26, that is what we use. So in this case, 27 is closer to 26, right? So the third decimal place that we would choose in this case is going to be 8. So we write 0.548, that's the z value. Sometimes what happens is it's exactly in the middle. So for example, if you were looking at this part of the table, 8, 10, for instance, and you ended up having 9 there. In that case, you're allowed to round off in any direction. You can round off to the left, round off to the right. You can take 4 or 5. Both will generally be acceptable. Mostly in the marking schemes, they round up, but it doesn't matter. You can use any of them. ठीक है. Zara, was your question answered? All right, chale. Achha, let's move on to the next one. P3 में 65 और S1 में 20. Musa, I'm sure you're joking, right? A star नहीं आता इस पे, 20 के साथ A star नहीं आता. Dashes and stars method. Okay, I'll go through that quickly. March 23. So specific questions pay we will come in about 15 to 20 minutes, inshallah, when the more general questions are answered. We will come to specific questions that you might want me to solve from any past papers. वो थोड़ा सा बाद में आते हैं इस पे. अच्छा. Fariha, is this Fariha from 55?
Yes, sir.
Fariha, just a reminder, I think I remember from your paper, you were making some, I'm sorry, why am I pointing you out in public? But okay, so I'll probably just mention that sometime in the middle, or just leave me a message, please leave me a message. Have you collected your papers? Have you collected your papers?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so make sure that you look at the small errors that I pointed out there. Okay, they're important, because I was hoping that you would be getting a distinction, inshallah. I hope you're on track for that. Not putting any extra pressure on you, but Just putting it out there. Okay, approximation question, probability should be correct to present places. Acha. In approximation questions, which approximation questions? Binomial to normal approximation questions, is that what you're talking about? Usme, there's no separate rule for significant figures or decimal places. There's no separate rule. In general, whenever it's an exact value, you use the exact value. When it's not an exact value, you round off to three significant figures. When you're using a normal distribution table, for using the normal distribution table, for that, you need the z values to be correct to three decimal places and probability values to be correct to four decimal places. But otherwise, the general rule works everywhere else. Is that okay? Acha, specific questions, we will come to specific questions. 2025 May June paper 4-2? Seriously? Are you talking about mechanics or is that a mistake? Paper 5-2, right? We will come to that, okay? उसपे हम आएंगे specific questions के ऊपर. March 23, Hamza will come to that as well. And just answer some general questions first. Okay, for comparisons between data sets of box and whisker plots, etc., on what basis do we give the comparison? Okay. Box and whisker plot. Let me go to one of those diagrams. Okay, in box and whisker plot or cumulative frequency curve, based on that, they often ask you to make two comparisons. Okay. Now, whenever they ask you to make two comparisons, what you do is one of your comments is going to be on some sort of average. It could be mean, it could be median, it could be mode. And the second comment is going to be based on variation in the data. That could be standard deviation, range, interquartile range, depending on what the diagram is. For example, we have this stem and leaf diagram, or a box and whisker plot, sorry. We have this box and whisker plot, and they ask us to make two comments on the weights of the two groups. So we have made two box and whisker plots in the first part, and now we need to make two comments in this. Now, what two comments, how do we make those two comments? One comment is supposed to be on central tendency. Now, what are your central tendency measures? You've got mean, median, mode. Which of those can you find from a box and whisker plot? Median, right? Median is relevant for this. So you'll make a comment based on the median. You can say, you can see on the diagram, median for P is greater, right? As compared to the median for Q. Now you're not just going to write that the median for P is greater and the median of Q is smaller. That is not acceptable. In S1, when they ask you to make statements like this, make some comments like this, you have to put those comments in context. The examiner needs to understand that that you are able to interpret the given information, and based on the context of the question, the comments should be related to that. So for example, in this case, they gave us weights of two groups of people, one from country P and one from country Q. When we make this comment on median now, we will say on average. So when we talk about central tendency measures, we say on average, weights of people in country P are more than those of people in country Q. So you have to relate the median number to the data that is given. So something like this is one comment that you can make. On average, weights of 17-year-old males, in this case, the data was for 17-year-old males. In country P, they are higher as compared to those in country Q. That's what you would write down there. The second comment has to be on variation in the data. Now, there are different variation measures that we have. Which one of them is relevant for a box and whisker plot? There are two that are relevant, in fact. One, range, and the other, interquartile range. We can't find we cannot find standard deviation or variance from a box and whisker plot, but we can find interquartile range. These are the interquartile ranges and range of both the data sets. Now, interquartile range for both of them is very similar, so we can't really compare that. But range is, it is clear based on the range, the variation in Q is much greater than the variation in P. So what comment would you write then? You would say the variation of weights of those 17-year-old males in country Q is greater as compared to that in country P. So again, you have to relate it to the data. So something like this, the variation in weights is more in one country as compared to that in other country. Okay, that's how you would write down. Okay, acha. Now you may have to make these comments based on a box investor plot, sometimes based on a cumulative frequency curve as well, or a stem and leaf diagram. Just keep this in mind. One comment on central tendency, the other comment on variation. These are two comments that you make. Fatima, for the other question, you'll have to give me a specific example. Give me a specific example. Okay. Acha. In binomial questions, where the number of successes we are finding, okay. So the question is, if we are in binomial distribution, for instance, let's suppose we have a binomial and the total number n is 5. When we want to find the probability of x equal to 5, is it necessary to write down the full thing 5c 5 and then p raised to power 5 and then q raised to power 0? It's not necessary. If you want, you can write p raised to power 5 directly as well, and that's okay. Similarly, if it's x equal to 0, in that case, if you want, you can write down q raised to power 5 directly as well. That's okay. There's no problem with that. ठीक है. अच्छा. Specific questions पे हम अभी आते हैं in a few minutes इंशाल्लाह. Specific questions पे आएंगे अयान. Okay, are there any general questions apart from this? Are the general questions answered? No other problems apart from this? Geometric distribution का formula q raised to power r geometric distribution का नहीं होता. Geometric distribution का formula वो inequality वाला formula होता है. Geometric distribution का जो formula है वो let me find that for you. Inequality wala formula geometric distribution ka, you need to make sure that you memorize that. That's not given in the formula sheet. Probability of x greater than r, that is equal to q raised to power r. This formula is not given in the formula sheet. You need to memorize this. Equal to r wala jo case hota hai, this one is given in the formula sheet. You need to remember both of them. Okay, inequality wale questions, otherwise they become difficult. ठीक है. अच्छा. Concepts we are not doing in this session, as in if you want me to explain a full concept, this is not the time for that. You have the crash course playlist available for that. You can go through the complete concept. I can quickly go over any specific questions that you might have. Okay, so in cumulative frequency curves, when they ask you to read values from a graph, how much leniency is there? They generally give you a range of values in the marking scheme. However, the method mark you still get if your answer is correct from the graph that you have drawn. Okay, Sometimes they can give you the answer mark as well if the curve is smooth enough. But if the curve is not very smooth, in that case you might end up losing a mark on the curve, and then in the next part, if based on your curve the answer is correct, you will still get that mark. So they generally write that in the guidance on the right side of the marking scheme, that the answer that you write, it should be correct based on your graph. So make sure that you show evidence of where you're reading the answer from on your own graph. That is important. As long as you show that and the value that you write is correct based on your own graph, that is going to be acceptable. Okay. Achha. Let me go through this dashes and stars. Let me remind you about the dashes and stars method quickly first. Remember this distinction. When they ask you for some objects that they should not be next to each other. So this is an example that you would have seen before. If we have 12 books, 6 of them are math books, 4 of them are physics books, 2 of them are chemistry books, 12 books in total. We want to arrange those books in such a way that not all physics books should be next to each other, or not all chemistry books should be next to each other. How do we deal with problems like these? What we do is we find the total arrangements. In this case, if it's 12 books, that will be 12 factorial. And then we subtract from that the case when all the physics books are together. Now, what this does is it excludes this particular case when all the physics books are next to each other. But the other cases are still allowed, right? Where 3 physics books are together or 2 physics books are together, they are still included in the final result that you get because there's no condition on those other cases. This case is not allowed. We just subtract that from the total. However, when they say something like this, that out of those 12 books, there are 4 physics books, and what we want is that none of the physics books should be next to each other. None of the physics books, that means that even 2 cannot be together, 3 cannot be together, 4 cannot be together. All of these cases are not allowed now. So this method, dashes and stars method, we use this when we want to separate all objects of a particular type. Okay. Now, how does this method work? You are going to start from those objects that you want to separate. Which objects do we want to separate? We want to separate the physics books. They should not be together. We are going to represent them using stars. You make stars for the objects that you have to separate. Okay? And the rest of the objects, then, you represent them with dashes. So the way you do this is, you say, there are 12 books, 4 of them are physics books. We represent them using stars. The rest of them are non-physics books. We represent them using dashes. And we say, okay, we have these 8 possible positions for the remaining books. For the non-physics books, we have these 8 possible places. Since we want to separate the physics books, those physics books can come in the gaps between these places. We represent them using stars like this. Okay. Now, in how many ways can we arrange them now? For the 8 non-physics books, what we have is 8 books, 8 places. So they can be arranged in 8 factorial ways. They can be arranged in 8 factorial ways. But then for the physics books now, how many places do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 9 places. For the non-physics books, in those 9 places, we want to place 4 physics books. Now, how do we do that? We can directly say 9p4, and that will give us the result that we've got 9 places, arrange 4 books in them, and that gives you the result. So what you need to remember in such cases is We are going to use this method when we want to separate all objects of a particular type. The objects that we have to separate, we represent them using stars. The other objects, we represent them using dashes. We make dashes, and then in the gaps between them, we have stars, and then we just do something like this, and that gives us the result. I hope that makes sense. If there are, if there are any specific variations of this that you're confused about, you can let me know about that. Let me answer some other general questions in the meantime. It's not a good idea to practice a lot of questions with your own hands right now at this point. The last year or the last 2 years for some of you were for that purpose. You were supposed to practice a lot. Now it's the time for revision. Don't try many new questions at this point. No, Musa, you can do that afterwards once you're done with the exams. Revision kar lein. There is time for revision. You need to make sure that everything that you've learned until now, that's fresh in your memory. That's important. अगर तैयारी हो चुकी है, just make sure to go through your notes. Make sure to go through your notes and also go through any questions that you got wrong earlier. That's important that you go through that as well. For the range questions, I uploaded a short video. So I would highly recommend that. It's just going to take like 10 minutes or 12 minutes. There are a couple of short videos that I've posted. If any one of these topics is something that you are confused about, make sure to go through this. Let me quickly tell you about what cases I'm talking about. So this case, in which in some cases you treat identical letters as identical, which is what the standard way of doing such problems is. And in other cases where we treat the identical objects as different. This is one important confusion this is an important concept that a lot of you get confused about. Make sure that you understand this. Whenever in combination questions, they ask you to find number of possible selections. In that case, if you have any identical letters, you are not going to do any selections from them. So for example, if you have two E's, you're not going to say 2C1 for this. If you have two L's, if you want 0L in a particular case, you are not going to do 2C0 in this case. However, when you are finding probability in these combination questions, the condition for that is these three things should be happening together. It should be a probability problem, there should be some identical objects, and it should be a selections problem. In this case, you are going to treat all of the identical letters as different, and you will apply the combination function on those identical letters as well in this case. You see, in the first case, we were not using combinations on E and L. In this case, when we have probability, we do use combinations on E and R as well. Okay, make sure that you understand this. I've explained the logic for this in a recent video as well. Go through that if you do not know this. This is another question that I keep getting close to the exams every single year. And that is, when you have data sets like this, in what cases do we need to adjust the boundaries, and in what cases do we not need to adjust the boundaries? This is the summary of that. This is the summary of that. In case of histogram and cumulative frequency curve, you are always going to adjust the boundaries. In case of cumulative frequency curve and histogram, you always adjust boundaries. No matter whether the data is discrete or continuous, you always bridge the gaps between the boundaries. So for example, in this case, this is 10, this is 11, there are gaps between the intervals. You will use 0.5, 10.5, and so on, right? These will be the boundaries that you use for histogram and cumulative frequency curve. For diagrams, you always adjust. But these are some cases in which for discrete you may have to adjust sometimes, for continuous you might not need to adjust. Or the other way around, for discrete you would not need to adjust, for continuous you will have to adjust sometimes. Now what exactly are those scenarios? Sometimes they ask you to find the greatest or least possible value of interquartile range. In case it's a discrete variable in your syllabus are just those variables that can take integer values. Continuous variables are those variables that can take any decimal value as well. For example, if you have length of something, length can take decimal values as well. If you have time, distance, height, all of these variables, they can take decimal values as well. These are called continuous variables. If you have number of something, like number of people, number of chocolates, number of something, they are supposed to be integers. That's discrete. In discrete variables, we are not going to adjust boundaries when we are supposed to find greatest or least possible values of interquartile range. For continuous, we do adjust the boundaries. Now, before we move further, I'll show you a couple of examples of this. Look at this data. We have time in this data. Time is a continuous variable. So when we find greatest range or least range, greatest interquartile range or least interquartile range, we are going to use adjusted values, right? After adjusting the intervals. When it's a discrete variable, like this is a discrete variable, number of chocolate, for example. In this case, when we find greatest or least possible value of interquartile range, even though there are gaps between intervals, we will use the original intervals. We are not going to use adjusted values in this case because it's a discrete variable. It cannot be in decimals. In this case, the treatment for discrete and continuous is different. Okay, in discrete, we do not adjust. In continuous, we do adjust. In case of greatest or least possible values of range and interquartile range. Then another situation is when they ask you to find mean or variance for data sets like that. Generally, you do not need to adjust in this case. Whether the data is discrete or continuous, you can find the midpoints directly. Because even if you adjust, you end up getting the same midpoint. So for example, if I have this table, now in this table, if I adjust the values or don't adjust the values, in both cases, you can see for all of these intervals, since the adjustment is the same on both sides, we are adding 0.5 on the right side, subtracting 0.5 on the left side in each interval. The midpoint remains the same in all of them. So it doesn't matter whether you adjust the intervals or not. But there's one exception. And that is when you have a continuous variable, for example, like this. It's a continuous variable that is length of something. That means it can take decimal values as well. In this case, when you adjust the intervals, since the first interval is starting from zero, when you adjust values, you have 9.5 here, 14.5, 19.5. On the upper side as well, 30 becomes 30.5. But in the first interval, we cannot take the left side to negative 0.5 because length cannot be negative. So the lower limit of the first interval, that is still going to start from 0. And in this case now, if you find the midpoint from the original interval as compared to the adjusted interval, the midpoint is going to be different. In this case, it's necessary to adjust the interval first. So you adjust the interval 0 to 9.5, and now the midpoint that you get from that is 4.75. The mean calculation that you would do or the variance calculation that you would do, they have to be based on this number. Okay, so that's one exception in case of midpoints. For stating the interval that contains the median, upper quartile, or lower quartile, in this case, we never need to adjust. Whatever the interval is, whether it's continuous data or discrete data, we will just write down the original interval given in the question. So for example, in this case, interval containing median, lower quartile, upper quartile, they are these intervals. We write the original intervals. Okay, so that's what you need to remember for adjusting intervals. Interquartile range for ungrouped data. Remember, do not use these formulas. Do not use these formulas. They are not reliable. They will often give you the correct results, but sometimes they will not give you the correct results. When n is odd, they will give you correct results. But when n means the total number of values, when that is even, these formulas are not going to work. Okay, so make sure that you do not use these formulas for ungrouped data. If n is odd, it generally is going to be safe. But when n is even, it does not give you the correct result. What would you do in that case? The method that we have discussed, median of the lower half is lower quartile. Where did that go? Median of the lower half is lower quartile, is lower quartile. Median of the upper half is upper quartile. Okay, you need to make sure that you remember this as well. And this is one other thing that I recently posted. You must have done questions like these already. Just go through them. When they ask you to find the probability of getting a third success on a particular attempt or a second success on a particular attempt, right? How to deal with problems like these. Make sure to go through that as well. ठीक है अच्छा I hope that helps. Let me answer some other questions. Physics books in that example that I showed earlier, they were not identical. So they were all physics books, but they may be a book for P1, P2, P3, P4. So even though the subject was the same, but the actual books were different. They were different books. Okay. अच्छा अभी क्वेश्चंस पे आते हैं क्वेश्चंस पे आते हैं दिस इज आंसर्ड For all diagrams, please make sure to use a pencil. For all diagrams, use a pencil. Use a pencil for cumulative frequency curve, for histogram, for box and whisker plot. Stem and leaf diagram is also a diagram, right? We also draw that using a pencil. Make sure not to use a pen because a lot of times what happens is you end up making some mistake somewhere. In stem and leaf diagram, it's very common that when you go through the data at first, you end up missing out on one particular value. And then if you try to adjust that later on, you will end up losing a mark because the gaps between values have to be consistent. So you need to make sure that you are using a pencil so that you can erase something when required. Let me show that to you quickly as well. Where was that S1 revision? Representation of data. So when you're drawing a box and whisker stem and leaf diagram, for example, remember it's necessary that the gaps between values are consistent. These gaps between values, they have to be consistent. The values need to be vertically aligned like this. If you use a pen, if you end up writing a wrong value somewhere by mistake, then you'll have to adjust another value in the middle, and that will make you lose a mark. So do not use a pen. Do not use a pen. Okay, so when you are starting the graph from another value, let me show that to you. Representation of data, it might be in this as well. Okay, so when your graph is starting from a value, when the horizontal axis is starting from a value other than 0, you can just start from that value directly like this. It's not necessary that you make that zigzag thing here. If you do that, that's also fine. But in recent papers, they generally just, in the recent marking schemes, they generally just start from that value directly. So it's better to just do this directly. So instead of 0, start from another value. Okay. So if the median is 5.5th value, how do you find lower quartile and upper quartile? I explain that there as well. Yeah. So when median is in the middle here, so for example, in this case, it was 6.5 value, right? This was 51. So median is not one of the values in the data. It's actually in the middle here. This is the median. So to the left of the median, we've got this data. To the right of the median, we've got this data. We can find the lower quartile and upper quartile by finding medians of those two halves. When median is part of the data, so for example, in this case, it was the sixth value in the data, it was 42. In this case, we exclude 42 and we say to the right, we've got these values, to the left, we've got these values. Find their medians and they are going to give you the lower quartile and the upper quartile. Okay. When median is in the middle, in that case, we just consider the right side of that and the left side of that. Okay. Important point for box underscore plot. I will show that to you. You can use pencil to do rough work. There's no problem with that. Of course, you can do that. For tree diagram, if the question is asking you, if in the tree diagram, if the question is asking you to make a tree diagram, do that with a pen. Do that with a pen. But if you're just doing it for your own cells, if you're drawing it for your own cells, in that case, you can use a pencil as well, and that's okay. All right. No, Musa, I don't know him. There was something else that I missed here as well. No. Let me get rid of the spammers. Are we allowed to use logs in S1? Okay, let me actually just go through that as well. That was one thing that I had in mind because it hasn't come in recent papers, but you need to know about that. Might be covered somewhere here. Discrete random variables, binomial distribution. Okay, let's look at this question. Let's look at this question. I'll give you maybe 30 seconds to read the question. Look at part B of this, the second part 2. Read the question statement, part 2 of this in particular. Oh, acha, I am at Nawaz. Yeah, I actually don't teach A2 there, only A1. So I'm not sure. As in this year, I was teaching A1, so I'll be teaching A2 next year. So he's from another batch. He is the head boy, now I remember, yes. 5 boys, 5 girls alternate. I'll have a look at that. I'll show that to you. Coded bean and variance समझा दें. Search for linear transformation in the crash course playlist. You'll understand that. Okay, there were some other people asking about that as well. What I'll do is I'll just go through that in a couple of minutes, as in what you need to do in those problems. But for more detailed explanation, you can have a look at the concept video for that. अच्छा, ये question पढ़ लिया सब लोगों ने? ये question पढ़ लिया सब लोगों ने? Okay. So a survey of a large number of customers found that 42% of the customers rated the logo as good. So probability of the logo being good, that is 0.42. Now they're saying a random sample of n customers is chosen. So we are selecting n customers. We want to find the smallest value of n for which the probability that at least one person rates the logo as good is greater than 0.995. Now, how do we think about that? Now, first of all, focus on the probability that they're talking about. Probability that at least one person rates the logo as good. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll just copy that working here maybe. So we can just focus on that. Okay, just focus on the second part of this. 42% rated the logo as good, so we can say it's a binomial distribution because we've got a total number of times we're repeating something, that is n. Probability of success and failure, they're constant, right? If we call this success, rating the logo as good, we have two possible outcomes, good or bad, right? We can call one of them success, the other failure. The probability that they're talking about is that at least one person rates the logo as good, so that means probability of having at least one success. So we could say it's a binomial distribution with these probabilities of success and failure. Probability that x is greater than or equal to 1, that's the probability that they're talking about. How do you find this probability? You would say it's the same as 1 minus the probability of x equal to 0, right? Because x greater than equal to 1 means 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to n. Now, we can't find all of those probabilities. We just subtract the probability of 0 from the total, and that will give us that result. So what we do is we find that probability and we say that is 1 minus probability of x equal to 0. Now they told us that this probability is greater than 0.995. So what we do is we put this probability number greater than 0.995. So we have an inequality like this then. We put this greater than 0.995 and we get this inequality. Now think about it, NC0, what's that? That's just 1. 0.42 raised to power 0, that's also 1. All we are left with is 0.58 raised to power n from this term, okay? Now we solve this inequality. We solve this inequality. How do we solve the inequality? We simplify everything. This is what we end up getting at the end. 0.005, that is greater than 0.58 raised to power n. Now, how do we solve an inequality like this? N is in the power, right? N is in the power. Musa, I think everybody else is going to think this is a paid actor in class who uh, keeps pasting that message again. So please focus on what we are doing. 0.005 greater than 0.58 raised to power n. Uh, how do you find the possible values of n from this? N is in the power. N is in the power. शरिया आपको नहीं मिलेगा, sorry. आपको नहीं मिलेगा. अच्छा, please, no distractions. N is in the power. How do we bring n down? How do we bring n down? We use logs for that. Those of you who have done paper 3, we use log on both sides. Any base doesn't matter, ln, lg, any other base doesn't matter. We take ln, for example, on both sides, simplify this. Now you have to be careful. Ln of 0.58 in this case, this is a negative number. Log of number is less than 1, that is negative. So don't just divide it on the other side as it is, because you may end up doing a sign error in case of that. And that. So what you should do instead is, you should first of all evaluate this number from your calculator, and that will clearly show you it's negative. So when you divide it on the other side, make sure to flip the inequality sign now. And that gives you n greater than this. So the smallest possible value of n, since n is supposed to be an integer, that turns out to be 10 in this case. Okay. Now, those of you who are in AS, and have not done logs, there's an alternative method for this as well. And that is, once you reach this point, you have an inequality like this, you can just use trial and error. So write this inequality on the side, 0.005 raised to power 0.58 raised to power n. Once you reach this point, just try inputting some values of n on your calculator. You have to show working for this. You'll have to show working for this. Write down some values of n and what results you get from that. Write them down. That is important. So for example, in this case, you could say 0.58. If I were to write it the other way around, 0.58 raised to power n, that is less than 0.005. Try inputting some values of n on your calculator. So 0.58 raised to power 5, for instance. Now, is that less than this? It's not. Try another value, 10 in the power. What does that give you? Is that less than that? Yes, now this is less than that. Now, is it the first value that is less than that? You need to check that. So you can try 9 as well. See what you get in 9. 9 is greater than this, so that means n equals 10 is the first time the number becomes less than 0.005. And you would say, therefore, the smallest possible value of n is 10. So if you do this trial and error method, make sure to show a few values of n and the results from them, and then it'll be okay. Okay, so this is another thing that you may have to use sometimes. Okay, acha. Okay, so this is the alternative for AS students. This is the alternative for AS students. If you don't want to use logs, use trial and error like this. But make sure to show some working for that. That's important. Okay. Acha. Uh, this question is coming again and again. This is very similar to a question that you may have seen in a recent paper as well. Is Fatima here today? Fatima Javed, can you? I'm taking full names. Okay, Fatima, can you please remind me about that question from that recent paper where they said two things had to be alternating? Yeah, I think it was consonants and vowels, right? Consonants and vowels. Do you remember which paper it was? Consonants and vowels. Regenerate? Was that the word in that question? Regenerate. Yeah, this was the one. Okay, so the boys and girls problem that you're asking about, it's very similar to this one, right? It's very similar to this one. May June 24, paper 5 2. Yeah, this is the one. So now they're saying the consonants and vowels, they have to alternate, right? They have to alternate. Now, a common confusion that people have about this is this, that I have on the side here as well. They're basically confused. Why can we not use the dashes and stars method in this? Why can we not use this method on this particular question? Okay, look at the question again, if you haven't seen the question before. So we have 10 letters, 5 of them are consonants and the other are vowels. So 5 each. What we want is, we want the consonants and vowels to alternate. So no two consonants should be next to each other, no two vowels should be next to each other. Now, since we want to separate all the consonants and separate all the vowels in this case, a lot of people think that we should be using the dashes and stars method in this. But there's a problem with that. Let's understand that problem. Let's suppose we say, represent consonants with dashes and represent vowels with stars. Now, we could have 5 dashes for the consonants. We have these 5 dashes for the consonants. Now, the consonants could come in these 5 places. In how many ways can we arrange them? We could say 5 factorial, but then 2 of them are identical, so we divide by 2 factorial. Nothing wrong until this point. But then we say, how many places do we have for the vowels now? How many places do we have for the vowels? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 places for them. Now, if we do 6p5 here, what we're saying is, out of these 6 places, we want to put the vowels in 5 places. Arrange 5 vowels in those 6 places. Now, what would happen would be, in some cases, for one possible arrangement of vowels, for example, could be that they come in these positions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if they come in these positions, that means there's no vowel in this position. So there's no star here. And that's a problem because now we have two consonants coming together. And that does not satisfy this condition that they have to alternate. So the dashes and stars method in this case is not going to work because there's a specific arrangement that they have told you about that they have to alternate. They have to alternate. So we'll have to consider that exact arrangement. We say, okay, we have 10 places like this. We can make boxes for them, dashes for them, doesn't matter. One possible arrangement could be that we are starting with a consonant and then we have a vowel and so on for the rest of the boxes. And we could say now the consonants can be arranged in 5 factorial over 2 factorial ways, and then the rest of the letters 5 factorial over 4 factorial because four of them were identical. Now, this is one possible arrangement. Another possibility could also be that we're starting with a vowel instead of a consonant. So we have a vowel on the left side, consonant on the right side. So this could be another possible arrangement. It will have exactly the same number of possible ways. So what we can do is what we found for the first case, we multiply that by 2. And that gives us the result. That's exactly the same thing that we will do in case of 5 boys and 5 girls as well, if they were supposed to be alternating, with the exception that we are not going to divide them by 2 factorial or 4 factorial because any two people, any two humans can not be identical. Okay. ठीक है. अच्छा. Let's move on to the next one. For upper quartile, lower quartile, median, examiner does not require any calculations. They will only check the answers. Okay, so the process of how you are getting to that median, lower quartile, upper quartile, that is not required by the examiner. Okay, they're only concerned with the final answer. Okay, Saryan, that's a long statement. That's going to take me a minute to read. It'll be probably easier if you just speak verbally. सारियान आप
ओके
verbally पूछ सकते हो जी बताएं
जी सर सलूम सर सर मैंने पूछना था कि जब हमारे पास यूजुअली हमारे पास जब हम केसेस बनाते हैं कॉम्बिनेशंस में लाइक सिलेक्ट नंबर ऑफ पीपल फ्रॉम अ ग्रुप लाइक इफ यू नीड टू सिलेक्ट मेन और वुमेन फ्रॉम अ पूल टू मेक अ टीम या कुछ भी तो हम यूजुअली उसमें अपने केसेस बनाते हैं कि हम उसमें ये कह सकते हैं कि एटलीस्ट 2 मैन अगर उन्होंने पूछा हुआ है तो वी कैन से 2 मैन 3 मैन 4 मैन अप टिल वी फिल दैट पूल तो उसमें हम तब वो कॉम्बिनेशन कंसिडर करते हैं जो हमने अज्यूम किए हैं लाइक इफ वी सेइंग दैट देयर आर 2 men so then do we add those at least 2 men in that combination or are they already built into the case that we're assuming that's what's confusing me
if they okay if there are two specific people, so if they say two specific men have to be there, so if we know who they are, then we don't do any selection for them. But if we do not know who those men are going to be, for example, if we have 5 men and we want to select two of them, so in a particular case, two of them have to be there. Now, if you don't know which two of the 5 have to be there, then you have to do 5C2. But if you are given that these people, A and B, they are going to be there in that case, you don't do any selection because there's only one way to select A and B, if that's what the question was. Or you can just tell me an example, a particular example from past papers. I can open that and that might make more sense. But I think that's what you were referring to. If not, let me know.
यस सर समझ आ गई थैंक यू
कोई क्वेश्चन अगर आपके स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन है वो भी बता सकते हो तो मैं खोल दूंगा उसके बाद. There's another question here as well. Stem and leaf diagram की जो conditions हैं. This is very important. Again, a lot of people don't pay attention to representation of data, thinking ये तो बहुत आसान topic है इसको पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है. A lot of people end up losing, a lot of very good students end up losing a lot of marks in this because they think अच्छा वो levels में किया हुआ है पढ़ने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. There's a lot of small detail in representation of data that you need to be careful about. So if you have time, I would highly recommend that you go through the marking schemes of recent representation of data questions. There's a lot to learn from those marking schemes, the guidance that they provide on the side, uh, on what small things they will be deducting marks. Make sure that you take care of units, make sure that you take care of labels in representation of data. If you have any diagram, you need to make sure that you label the diagrams properly. Units should always be mentioned. For a stem and leaf diagram, these are small things that can make you lose marks. The vertical line, drawing that vertical line is important. The rows have to be sorted. You have to show a key. Leaf can only have one digit. There should be equal spacing between numbers. It's a diagram. Don't just write numbers randomly. You have to equally space them. There should be vertical alignment of the numbers. You cannot use any commas, etc. in the diagram. Commas, full stops, they are not allowed. Okay? So you need to be careful about these things. ठीक है. अच्छा, लीनियर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन पे आते हैं. लीनियर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन पे भी आते हैं. We've talked about adjusting intervals. Stem and leaf cumulative frequency curve में histogram में we always adjust intervals. We always adjust intervals. अच्छा, spammers जो हैं they will be blocked. तो don't spam. Can I ask a question? Like, जी हम आज पूछ सकते हैं बिल्कुल.
Assalamualaikum sir, आवाज आ रही
वालेकुम सलाम. जी आ रही है.
सर देयर इज दिस क्वेश्चन जिसके अंदर ये शायद जरियान भाई का क्वेश्चन भी यही था थोड़ा सा हमारे पास एक सवाल था टुमारो का
जरियान भाई.
ठीक है उसके अंदर
Okay.
उसने हमें कहा
जी
एटलीस्ट 1 m और एटलीस्ट 1 o इस तरह कुछ होना चाहिए ठीक है सो अब इसी तरह का सिमिलर क्वेश्चन था वो था समर
अच्छा
टाइम का उसके अंदर भी उसने हमें कहा
हम आदम रियली सॉरी टू इंटरप्ट. मुझे आप अगर क्वेश्चन नंबर बता दो ना, मैं साथ खोल लेता हूँ तो आसान हो जाएगा समझना. कोई क्वेश्चन
ठीक
अगर
है सर
बता
मुझे
दो
2 मिनट दे मैं कहता हूँ मैं आपको क्वेश्चन नंबर भेजता हूँ
मुझे क्वेश्चन बता तो वो सामने खोलेंगे ना, आसान होगा सबके लिए समझना में आसान होगा.
जी बेशक ठीक है ओके थैंक यू
अच्छा. हाँ यार. Fatima, is it from last 5 years? Is it from last 5 years? November 25. Okay, let me open that. Acha, I was looking at the wrong notebook. November 25. Paper. For exact answers, write down the full number. For non-exact answers, decimals. Okay. 5-3. Okay. Acha. Number of arrangements in which there is a D at each end and the two Fs are not next to each other. So you fix the Ds on the sides. What letters are we left with? A, F, F, O, I, L, S. You find the total, subtract from them the case when the Fs are next to each other. That will be the method that will work, or the dashes and stars method that is also going to work. So both of those methods for two letters, both of them will work, right? These are fixed, we don't have to do anything with them. For these 7 letters, either do total minus together or dashes and stars. Both of them will work. Now your question is, why is that not going to work, what you were saying there? Acha. Let me do it using dashes and stars method. So apart from D's, we are left with the other 7 letters. What we can do is we can say F's are supposed to be separated. They should not be next to each other. So for the two F's, we could say, let's use stars. They are the ones that we need to separate. And then the rest of the letters, how many of them do we have? 5. We use dashes for them. So what we say is we have 5 places for the letters apart from the F's. 5 places for them. Now, what are those 5 letters? A, O, I, L, S. So in the dashes space, we have these 5 letters. In how many ways can we arrange them? 5 factorial, because they're all different. Now, those two F's that we have got, they can come in these places. They can come in these places. Okay. How many places are these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 places. We need to place 2 F's in them. We could say 6p2, arrange 2 F's in those places. However, since both of them are identical, divide by 2 factorial as well. That is the same thing as saying, since F's are identical, we could also say it's 5 factorial into 5c2. That will be the same thing as well. These are the same things. This makes more logical sense, however, since we're arranging, a lot of people get confused why we're using combinations. So it will be easy to think of it this way, 5p2 divided by 2 factorial. If you're doing 5 factorial into 6 into 5, 6 into 5 because you're saying we have 6 places, so 6 options for the first F, 5 options for the next F. That is actually the same thing as 6p2. That's the same thing as 6p2. That will arrange those two F's. But since the F's are identical, we still need to divide by 2 factorial in this case as well. So all of these will be correct. This will be fine, this will be fine, this will be fine. All of them mean the same thing. ठीक है? Marbles wala, if you can tell me the question number, as in the paper number, question number, I'll open that. Okay, now I'm going to do specific questions. In probability questions and permutation questions, make sure to slow down a little. A lot of times statements are very confusing. You need to make sure that you understand them correctly. Otherwise, a lot of times what happens is people come out of the exam center and then realize they understood a question wrong, right? The question was saying something else and they understood it differently. So make sure to slow down in probability questions and permutations and combinations questions and leave them for the end. If it's a difficult probability question, sometimes probability distribution questions, for example, they tend to be quite tricky. The first parts of them, and some probability questions as well, and permutations questions. Leave them for the end. Do the rest of the paper first. Try to save time on that. Standard questions like binomial geometric distributions, there isn't a lot of complication that those questions have generally. If you've covered the recent papers cases, all the different types of questions in the recent papers, they don't do a lot of new things in those questions. Representation of data questions, normal distribution questions, if there is nothing very complicated, generally the first two parts are going to be straightforward, and in the last part, sometimes in very rare cases, they introduce something that's complicated, but generally that's an easier question as well. Try to save time on those questions so that the more difficult questions that you have, then permutations and combinations, and some probability or probability distribution questions, depending on the paper, leave enough time for them so that you're able to think about them at the end. Okay, generally time is not an issue in S1 papers, but you need, as in the working is not that long. However, a lot of times people get stuck at a particular question in the middle. They keep thinking about it, and that makes them miss out on some easier question at the end. So make sure not to get stuck in the middle of the paper. That's extremely important. Leave permutation, combination questions, difficult parts, probability questions, difficult part for the end of the paper. Acha. May, June 2020 for paper 5-2 part C. So let me open that. June 2020. I don't have that here. June 2020. अच्छा आते हैं 25 पे पेपर 5-3 ऑफ नवंबर 25 और जून 25 उस पे आते हैं. Let me answer this question first. June 2020 paper 5-2. Let me open this. Just select the wrong folder. Okay, I shall open. I'll do that as well. June 2020. Question number? So you want me to compare two questions? June 2020 paper 5-2. Okay. Which question are you talking about? Tell me the question number. I'm sorry, Musa, I did not read your messages. आप कहाँ गायब हो गया? अच्छा. Question number 6. Okay. G, what's the problem in this? अब मुझे बताएं इस क्वेश्चन को कौन सा पार्ट इसका? Part C. Okay. 4 letters are selected from this, different selections. Let me copy this. Let me copy this so we can compare this with whatever you're saying there. Part C of this question. Okay. Let me copy that here. Let's add it here. Acha, with what was the other question? June 21, paper 5-2. June 21, paper 5-2. Question number इसका? इसका question number? Happiness part सी उस पे आते हैं. Happiness वाले questions भी आते हैं. Just wait, आ जाएंगे. सब questions पे आएंगे. I'm here. I'm here for some time अभी. Okay. Which part of this? Which part of this, Hamad? Part C. Hamad, are you seriously asking about this now? कि probability में हम क्यों उसको identical consider कर रहे हैं, दूसरे में नहीं कर रहे? Is that what you're asking about? हमाद, आप कहाँ से निकले हैं? कहाँ सोए हुए थे आप? We have talked about it so many times. आज इसी क्लास में भी हमने डिस्कस किया है. When we are talking about number of selections, when we talk about number of selections, and when we have to find probability of a certain number of selections, इसमें हमने किस तरह से different treat करना है? When we're talking about number of selections, in this case, we are not going to select from the repeated letters. So M's and E's, we are not going to apply the combination function on them. And in this tomorrow question, we are finding probability of a certain selection. Probability questions may, when you have repeated objects in combinations, you have to treat all letters as different. So you will be selecting from the R's and the O's as well in this case. Okay. Okay, so I've made separate videos for this very recently as well. I made some short videos on YouTube, reels on Insta. Yeah, that tells me you're still not following me and you're still not subscribed to my channel. That's unfortunate, but yeah, you can find that there. Yeah, okay, Insta hai nahi aapka, that's actually very good. Do not install that. It's a waste of time. YouTube pe, I just posted that yesterday as well. You can have a look at that. YouTube पे नहीं है. Chrome पे कर लें, Chrome पे कर लें, it's okay. Script भी upload उसका. March 23 और फिर 25 पे वाले क्वेश्चन पे आते हैं इसके बाद. इस पर 25 वाले क्वेश्चन पे आते हैं. March 23 एक क्वेश्चन ईमेल करें, उसके बाद 25 वाले क्वेश्चन के ऊपर. अभी कोई इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट तो नहीं है ना यहाँ पे? नहीं है, राइट? ओके. Musa, I'm sorry, I did not understand what you were asking about. Ali Asad, I don't know who Ali Asad is. आप लोगों का अपना जो है वो मजाक जो भी है, why are you bringing that to class? S1 PPS. March 23, question 5. Paper 5 2. March 23. Okay, this looked like a weird question. मैंने क्या किया वहाँ पे? Marble वाले question. Okay, somebody else was asking about this. Aliza, we've already talked about that. Pencil वाला हमने discuss किया पहले. Diagrams आप सारी pencil से करोगे. Tree diagram and distribution table, I would recommend you do them with a pen. Tree diagram and probability distribution table. Representation of data value diagrams, those you do with a pencil. Okay. Acha. March 23. What about this question? This one and question number 3, part C of the same one. Okay, all right. So a number of people are asking about this. Let's go through this. Marco has 4 boxes labeled K, L, M, and N. He places them in a straight line in the order K, L, M, N with K on the left. Okay. He has 4 colored marbles. One is red, one is green, one is white, and one is yellow. He places a single marble in each box at random. मैंने बहुत ही देर पहले का किया हुआ है. मेरी writing पहले से भी ज़्यादा बुरी थी. Okay. बहुत ही अजीब तरीके से किया हुआ है. single marble in each box at random. The white marble is in either box L or box M. The red marble is to the left of both the green marble and the yellow marble. These are the two conditions that were given. Determine whether or not events A and B are independent. Acha, A or B independent. Independent events आप कैसे show करते हो कि two events are independent? This is the condition for that, right? Probability of their intersection, that should equal the product of their individual probabilities. अगर ये condition meet हो रही है तो independent events हैं. अगर ये condition meet नहीं हो रही है तो independent events नहीं है. ठीक है, तो आपको probabilities find करनी है ये सारी पहले. अब कैसे कर सकते हैं? This is how you can do it. You can say there are 4 boxes, right? There are 4 boxes. The boxes are labeled K, L, M, and N. So I've labeled them here, K, L, M, and N. Now, what are the conditions that are given? K is on the left side. वो तो हमने कर लिया, marbles को तो कर लिया. Boxes को हमने कर लिया already. Now the marbles are placed at random. Event A is the white marble is in either box L or box M. So white marble can either be in box L or box M. So if white is in box L, this is one possibility. What are the number of possible ways we can have to fill the boxes in this case? So if white is in box L, we have 3 other boxes. In those 3 boxes, we have to place those 3 marbles. And they're all different colors, right? So 3 marbles, 3 boxes. In how many ways can we place them there? 3 factorial. That's the number of ways of filling the boxes if white marble is in box L. Now, another possibility is that the white marble is in box M. If it is in the box M, again, we can say this is the second case now. It's in box M. The rest of the marbles, they have 3 other boxes. They can be arranged in 3 factorial ways. So the total number of ways of arranging in case of event A, that is 12. Out of the total, what will be the total number of possible arrangements? If there were no conditions, there will be 4 factorial. If there's no condition, 4 marbles, 4 boxes, 4 factorial. So what's the probability of A then? The probability of A turns out to be 1 over 2. That's the probability of one event. That's what we wanted to calculate. Okay. Yes. So once we've got this, let's think about the other event now. The other event is the red marble is to the left of both the green marble and the yellow marble. That's the other condition now. Red marble should be to the left of both the green marble and the yellow marble. Achha, now what could be the possible positions of the red marble now? What could be the possible positions of the red marble now? Let's talk about event B. Since green और येलो उसके राइट पे होना चाहिए, तो 2 मार्बल्स एटलीस्ट उसके राइट पे होने चाहिए. 2 मार्बल्स राइट पे होने चाहिए. अब 2 क्योंकि राइट पर होने चाहिए, तो रेड जो है वो या तो यहां पर आ सकता है सेकंड में, बिकॉज फिर 2 की स्पेस है राइट साइड पे, या फिर ये रेड इधर आ सकता है, फिर उसके बाद तीनों की स्पेस राइट साइड पे. अगर ये बॉक्स एल की पोजीशन पे आता है, अगर ये बॉक्स एल की पोजीशन पे आता है, उस केस के अंदर सिंस green and white or green and yellow have to be on the right side. Green और yellow यहाँ पे होने चाहिए. तो white has to be on the left side then. White भी fix हो गया. अगर red यहाँ पर है तो white fix हो गया left side के ऊपर. वो तो change नहीं हो सकता because right side पे green और yellow आने हैं तो white left पर आएगा. So अब green और yellow की आपस में कितनी arrangements हो सकती हैं? 2 factorial. So that's the number of ways of arrangement. That's the number of arrangements that we get for the first case. अच्छा, फिर अगर रेड आ जाए फर्स्ट वाले बॉक्स के अंदर, अगर रेड इस बॉक्स के अंदर आ जाए, के अंदर आ जाए, तो उसमें बाकी तीनों बॉक्सेस की अरेंजमेंट, बाकी तीनों मार्बल्स की अरेंजमेंट इन दोस 3 बॉक्सेस, इन दोस 3 बॉक्सेस, दैट्स 3 factorial. Add them up together, that's 8. And now the probability of B therefore that's 8 over 24 and that's 1 over 3. ये आपके पास ये वाली probability आ गई. A की probability भी आ गई और B की probability भी आ गई. ये दो हमें find करनी थी. अब हमें फिगर आउट करना है इंटरसेक्शन की प्रोबेबिलिटी. इंटरसेक्शन की प्रोबेबिलिटी वो कैसे आएगी? इंटरसेक्शन की प्रोबेबिलिटी कैसे आएगी? लेट्स फिगर दैट आउट. इंटरसेक्शन का मतलब है कि ये दोनों कंडीशंस एक साथ मीट होनी चाहिए. अब दोनों कंडीशंस एक साथ मीट होनी चाहिए इसका मतलब ये है कि जो व्हाइट मार्बल है वो एल या एम में से होना चाहिए. अच्छा, क्या ये हो सकता है कि व्हाइट मार्बल बॉक्स एम में हो, व्हाइट मार्बल बॉक्स एम में हो यहां पे, और ये दूसरी कंडीशन में मीट हो जाए? क्या ये पॉसिबल है? हो सकता है अगर रेड यहां पर आ जाए, राइट? अगर रेड यहां पर आए तो फिर आपके पास ग्रीन और येलो इधर आ सकते हैं. एक ये कंडीशन हो सकती है. लेट मी एक्चुअली शो दैट डायग्राम टू यू. तो वो कंडीशंस दोनों मीट करने के लिए देखें क्या क्या हो सकता है. व्हाइट की ये दो पोजीशंस थी, आई विल जस्ट एनसर्कल देम. व्हाइट की ये दो पॉसिबल पोजीशंस. अब वो कंडीशंस भी मीट करनी है और उसके साथ साथ आपको रेड की कंडीशन भी मीट करनी है कि ग्रीन और येलो उसके राइट पे होने चाहिए. अब ये पहले वाले केस के अंदर, फोकस ऑन दिस ना, पहले वाले केस के अंदर अगर रेड लेफ्ट पे होना चाहिए ग्रीन और येलो के, तो फिर रेड के लिए एक ही पोजीशन बचती है कि वो एक्सट्रीम लेफ्ट पे होना चाहिए, और ये ग्रीन और येलो की अरेंजमेंट्स कितनी हो जाएंगी? फिर 2 फैक्टोरियल हो जाएंगी. और जो दूसरा वाला केस था व्हाइट का, कि व्हाइट इधर आ जाए, अगर व्हाइट यहां पर आएगा तो फिर भी रेड की पोजीशन यहीं पे बनती है, उसकी और कोई पोजीशन हो नहीं सकती है बिकॉज ग्रीन और येलो राइट पर आने हैं. तो यहां पे भी ग्रीन और येलो के लिए आपके पास 2 फैक्टोरियल वेज है. तो इंटरसेक्शन के कितने केसेस बन के आपके पास? 4. इसकी प्रोबेबिलिटी क्या हो जाएगी? 4 out of 24. दैट्स 1 out of 6. ये आपके पास इंटरसेक्शन की प्रोबेबिलिटी आ गई. ठीक है, अब तीनों प्रोबेबिलिटीज आ गई. पुट देम इन दैट इक्वेशन. अगर ये कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई हो रही है, 1/6 इज इक्वल टू 1/2 इंटू 1/3, जो हो रही है सेटिस्फाई, इसका मतलब है कि ये इंडिपेंडेंट है. दैट्स क्वाइट डिफिकल्ट फॉर 3 marks, बट एन एन इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग टू अंडरस्टैंड फ्रॉम दिस इज, अगर आप ये पेपर के दरम्यान में करना शुरू हो गए क्वेश्चन, दिस इज इजीली गोइंग टू टेक लाइक 8 to 10 minutes. इसमें सोचने में टाइम लग जाएगा बहुत ज्यादा. 3 marks के लिए 10 minutes, और फिर हो सकता है आपके आसान मार्क्स एंड पे लूज कर जाएं. तो ये देखिए एंड पर ये स्टैंडर्ड आपका सिलेक्शन वाला क्वेश्चन है. That's very weird diagrams that I've drawn here. ये आपका स्टैंडर्ड जो है वो 4 letters between 2 letters वाला क्वेश्चन है, जो रीसेंट पेपर्स में बार बार आ रहा है. यू शुड नो दिस. तो आप ये इजी मार्क्स नहीं मिस करना चाहते एंड पे. सो मेक श्योर टू नॉट गेट स्टक इन द मिडल प्लीज. दीज वर 3 marks फॉर अ लॉट ऑफ वर्किंग. अब ऐसे क्वेश्चन आते हैं, बिल्कुल आते हैं, क्यों नहीं आएंगे, आते हैं, आ सकते हैं. जस्ट मेक श्योर ये दरम्यान में नहीं करना है इस तरह क्वेश्चन कोई कभी भी, उससे आपका बाकी पेपर खराब हो जाएगा सारा. तो अगर आपको नहीं समझ आ रही दरम्यान में, मेक श्योर टू लीव दैट क्वेश्चन फॉर सम टाइम, डू द रेस्ट ऑफ द पेपर, कम बैक टू इट अगैन. ठीक है, डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस वाली प्लेलिस्ट है, जस्ट सर्च S1 डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस मैथ प्रेप एंड विल फाइंड दैट प्लेलिस्ट. आपको मिल जाएगी वो पूरी डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस वाली. अगर कोई रिविजन वीडियो किसी ने अभी तक नहीं देखी है तो दैट्स इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर मोर पीपल. रिविजन वर्कशॉप that covers everything that you need for S1 along with the different types of questions as well. ठीक है, all right. Allah Hafiz to everyone who's leaving. If you have any questions, you can let me know. Otherwise, whatever you think is better use of your time right now. Revision अगर आपकी नहीं हुई अभी तक, make sure to do that. रिविजन नहीं हुई तो मेक श्योर कि वो आप करें. अगर आपकी तैयारी बहुत अच्छी है तो डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन वाली वीडियोस एक दफ़ा स्किम थ्रू कर सकते हैं, रीसेंट वाली. अगर आपने पेपर्स ऑलरेडी अटैम्प्ट नहीं, अगर आपने लास्ट 5 years के अटैम्प्ट किए हुए हैं तो देयर इज नो पॉइंट, जस्ट गो थ्रू योर वर्किंग अगैन जो आपने ऑलरेडी क्वेश्चन अटैम्प्ट किए हुए हैं. ठीक है, 39 to 43 marks, that's good. Depends on what you want. That's good for an A. For an A star, you probably need a bit more. You're aiming for that grade. उसके साथ आपके 39 43 आ रहे हैं, तो फिर अगर आप बेहतर एम कर रहे होते तो फिर आप क्या, फिर तो आपके ज़्यादा आ जाता है 50 से। 3C उसके लिए तो बहुत ज़्यादा है, बहुत ज़्यादा, थोड़ा कम कर लें फिर, सो जाए जाके फिर। क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 पार्ट C। ये तो हमने बहुत दफ़ा किया है हमाद। हमाद 39 43 आपके आ रहे हैं, कैसे आ रहे हैं आपको इसके बगैर फिर? अच्छा नहीं, सॉरी सॉरी, हमजा, हमजा ये वही है। सेवंथ पर्सन इज द सेकंड पर्सन नॉट इन फेवर ऑफ द लेजर सेंटर, नॉट इन फेवर। अच्छा, उसने कहा हुआ है 80% ऑफ द रेजिडेंट्स आर इन फेवर, 80% आर इन फेवर, तो कितने नॉट इन फेवर होंगे? 20%। 20% नहीं इन फेवर होंगे, राइट? तो अगर आपको ये प्रोबेबिलिटी निकालनी है, let me do it slightly more efficiently on the side here। 2025 वाले क्वेश्चन तो भी आ रहे हैं, हम थोड़ा सा लाइन में कुछ और क्वेश्चन लगे हैं, उस पर आ रहे हैं अभी। 25 पेपर 5 3 क्वेश्चन 3 उस पर अभी आएंगे, थोड़ा सा वेट, थोड़ा सा वेट। बिल्कुल वही करेंगे हम सर, वही करेंगे, वही करेंगे। तो प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ सक्सेस, यहाँ पे सक्सेस का क्राइटेरिया क्या है? नॉट इन फेवर ऑफ द लेजर सेंटर, नॉट इन फेवर, इसका क्या मतलब होगा? प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ सक्सेस क्या होगी? 0.2 इन दिस केस, दैट्स द प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ सक्सेस। ओके, आप क्या करोगे? You'll say 1 2 3 all the way up to 6, and the first 6 you want one success, so that will be 6C1 into 0.2 raised to power 1 into 0.8 raised to power 5, and then the seventh one has to be a success, uski probability 0.2, and that will give you the result। ठीक है, make sense? इस तरह क्वेश्चंस बहुत आ रहे हैं रिसेंट पेपर्स में। Probability that the seventh person asked is the second person who is not in favor of the leisure center। अच्छा, let me look at the question statement again। उसने कुछ और तो नहीं कहा हुआ ऊपर वाले पार्ट में? 80% are in favor of the center, 20 residents are chosen, find the probability that more than 17 are in favor of the leisure center। Okay, fifth person asked is the first person who is not in favor, and then the seventh person asked is the second person who's not in favor। This is fine, it should work. It should work. What are you getting from this? 6 into 0.2 into 0.8 raised to power 5 into 0.2. That's 0.0786. That's 0.0786. That's correct. सही आता है। ठीक है सर, this should be fine। ग्रुपिंग वाले क्वेश्चंस, ग्रुपिंग वाले क्वेश्चंस की वीडियो where they ask you to make groups out of a certain number of people। परमिटेशंस और कॉम्बिनेशंस के जो डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस वाली वीडियोस हैं, देयर आर 3-4 वीडियोस फ्रॉम रीसेंट पेपर्स, और सारे डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम लास्ट 6 इयर्स उसके अंदर हैं। उसमें आपको वो कुछ क्वेश्चंस मिल जाएंगे, उसमें आपको क्वेश्चंस मिल जाएंगे। अच्छा, सो अब दो क्वेश्चंस नेक्स्ट इन लाइन है पेपर। एक ये वाला है मार्च 23, मार्च 23। और फिर 20-25 वाले क्वेश्चन पे आ रहे हैं उसके बाद। बस एक क्वेश्चन और है, उसके बाद 25 वाले क्वेश्चन पे आ रहे हैं, ठीक है। आयशा कहाँ गया वो क्वेश्चन? March 25. I can't find that anymore. ऊपर चला गया बात, दोबारा से सेंड करें प्लीज। अच्छा, that's May June 23, May June 23, June 23, paper 5-2, question number 6, part C. Was it 5-2 or 5-3? 5-3, okay. In a random sample of 365 days, on how many days would you expect the mass of grapes sold to be within 1.3 standard deviations of the mean? Is that what you're asking about? Is this what you're asking about? अच्छा देखिए, whenever they ask you about probability of something being a certain number of standard deviations above or below the mean, आपको ओरिजिनल डेटा की जरूरत भी नहीं होती है। आपको ओरिजिनल डेटा की जरूरत भी नहीं होती है। जब भी स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन की बात हो रही होती है, आप डायरेक्टली जी का सोच सकते हो, बिकॉज एंड पे आपको जी में कन्वर्ट करना है। जी का आपको पता है मीन इज 0, राइट? और स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन कितनी होती है? 1। सो विद इन 1.3 स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन का मतलब है जी वैल्यू जो है वो 1.3 और प्लस 1.3 के दरम्यान में होना चाहिए। नो मैटर व्हाट द डेटा इज, इवेंचुअली यही आएगा। जब नंबर ऑफ स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन की बात कर रहे हो, you will get this eventually. So you say probability of z that is between negative 1.3 and positive 1.3, right? Because z की स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन जो है वो 1 होती है, तो 1.3 स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन मींस इतना इधर जा सकते हैं, इतना लेफ्ट पे जा सकते हैं। Now how do you find this? We have done a standard rule for this, right? This is one case that I recommend that you remember, जो आसान हो जाता है डायरेक्टली करना। z less than 1.3 plus probability of z less than 1.3 minus 1, and that will give you the result जो भी आपके पास एंड पर आएगा। You multiply that number by 365, ठीक है। ओके, June 25 paper 5-2, June 25 paper 5-2, let's look at that now. So इसमें देखिए, I did not even need to read the question statement. नंबर ऑफ स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशंस की बात हो रही है तो इसमें यही पॉसिबिलिटी बनती है सिर्फ, ठीक है। अच्छा, उस पर आते हैं हम जून 5-2 के ऊपर। ओके, जून 25 पेपर 5-2, इससे दो क्वेश्चंस हैं, राइट? Question 3 and 7. अच्छा, एक ये है पहले, ये क्वेश्चन 3 और फिर क्वेश्चन 7। ये मैंने अभी रील में भी एक्सप्लेन किया, अभी मैंने पोस्ट किया शॉर्ट थोड़ी देर पहले, यू कैन हैव अ लुक एट दैट। ये इसका पार्ट सी जो है, आई एक्सप्लेन दैट, इसका आप सोल्यूशन देख सकते हैं। ये रील में भी पोस्टेड है, मैंने बायनोमियल और ज्योमेट्रिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की एक डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन वाली वीडियो पोस्ट की है, उसके अंदर भी है इसका डिटेल्ड सोल्यूशन, यू कैन हैव अ लुक एट दैट। ठीक है, अभी मैंने आज ही पोस्ट किया है, आज ही पोस्ट किया, यू विल फाइंड इट देयर, पार्ट सी इसका जो कह रहे हैं, जून 25 पेपर 5-3, जो अभी डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस वाली प्लेलिस्ट है, आपको यहाँ पे नीचे डिस्क्रिप्शन में भी इसका लिंक मिल जाएगा। उस प्लेलिस्ट के अंदर बाइनोमियल और ज्योमेट्रिक वाली जो मोस्ट रीसेंट वीडियो है, उसके अंदर इट्स एक्सप्लेन इन डिटेल। और अभी शॉर्ट भी मैंने पोस्ट किया है कोई, उसमें भी आप 2-3 मिनट में आई हैव एक्सप्लेन दिस। ओके, अच्छा ये दूसरे वाले पे आते हैं, 5-2। इससे क्वेश्चन नंबर 7। अच्छा, लेट मी कम बैक एंड आंसर योर क्वेश्चन उस पर भी, मैं भी बताता हूँ, ये एक्सप्लेन करूँ जल्दी से, उसके बाद मैं आता हूँ उस पर। अच्छा, व्हाट अबाउट दिस क्वेश्चन 7, इसका कौन सा पार्ट, इसका कौन सा पार्ट, बी स्पेसिफिक, विच पार्ट ऑफ दिस। पीपल ऑन जूम आपके कोई स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन है तो बता सकते हैं, अदरवाइज इट्स अ गुड आइडिया टू डू योर ओन रिविजन देन, अगर आपके कोई बहुत ज़्यादा क्वेश्चंस नहीं है तो। अगर आपके पास, अगर आपने सब कुछ कर लिया है, रिविजन भी कर लिया है आपने, सब कुछ जो है वो अपने पहले वाले क्वेश्चंस भी देख लिए हैं, देन मे बी यू कैन हैंग अराउंड एंड सी व्हाट क्वेश्चंस अदर पीपल आर आस्किंग। अदरवाइज रिविजन मेक श्योर कि आप सारे जो है अच्छी तरह कर लें, जो पेपर्स आपने ऑलरेडी अटेम्प्ट किए हैं, मेक श्योर दैट यू गो थ्रू द क्वेश्चन दैट यू गॉट रॉन्ग द फर्स्ट टाइम, एक दफ़ा दोबारा गो थ्रू कर लें, एंड हैव गुड स्लीप आफ्टर दैट। S1 के लिए सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है कि आप बहुत ज़्यादा फ्रेश हों, बिकॉज अदरवाइज फिर परमिटेशंस क्वेश्चंस में और प्रोबेबिलिटी क्वेश्चंस में जो मुश्किल वाले हैं उनमें आइडियाज़ नहीं आते फिर। अच्छा, ये लेवी डोजेस व्हाटएवर नेम है, मैं उस पर जाता हूँ वापस, अभी जाता हूँ वापस, 2 मिनट दें मुझे, 2 मिनट दें, वापस जाता हूँ। ठीक है, इंशाल्लाह अच्छा होगा पेपर सबका, अपने अम्मा अब्बा को दुआओं का कहें, उनकी दुआएं आपके लिए सबसे ज़्यादा जो है वो काम आएंगी, और अपनी मेहनत करें, खुद भी दुआ करें, आई ऑल्सो मेक दुआ फॉर एवरीवन इंशाल्लाह। अच्छा, इसमें इसने कहा है crystals are birds whose adult wingspans are normally distributed with mean 74.8 in standard deviation. This, how many of these 120 crystals would you expect to have a wingspan between 72.4 and 76.3? तो ये तो सिंपल नॉर्मल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है, प्रोबेबिलिटी निकालेंगे उन दोनों के दरमियान में जी में कन्वर्ट करके और उसको 120 से मल्टीप्लाई कर देंगे। फर्स्ट पार्ट इज स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड। अच्छा, सेकंड पार्ट में वो कहता है, ये भी स्टैंडर्ड आपका इनवर्स नॉर्मल क्वेश्चन है, उसने कहा है कि म्यू और सिग्मा निकालना है, उसने प्रोबेबिलिटीज दी हुई हैं, 20% हैव मास ग्रेटर देन 0.202। इसका क्या मतलब है, प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ एक्स ग्रेटर देन 0.202 दैट इज इक्वल टू 0.2, अगर हम एक्स से रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं उनके मासेस, तो ये एक प्रोबेबिलिटी आपको क्या बना है। दूसरी उसने कहा है कि 28% have mass less than this number, so probability of mass being less than 0.185 that is equal to 0.28। ये दो आपके इक्वेशंस बन गई, आप इनवर्स नॉर्मल वाला स्टैंडर्ड प्रोसेस अप्लाई करें, इसके ऊपर जी में कन्वर्ट करें, उनके जी वैल्यूज निकालें, दिस इज द प्रोसेस, यू कैन टेक स्नैपशॉट ऑफ दिस, ये तो स्टैंडर्ड इनवर्स नॉर्मल वाला प्रोसेस है, इसके पिक्चर ले लें इफ यू वांट, दो इक्वेशंस बनेगी, उनको साइमल्टेनियसली सॉल्व कर लें, मीन और स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन आ जाएगी आपके पास। ठीक है, और थर्ड पार्ट में उसने कहा 10 आर सेलेक्टेड, probability that fewer than 3 of mass is greater than this, ये तो बाइनोमियल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है, greater than this ये उसने प्रोबेबिलिटी यहाँ पे बताई हुई है 0.202 से ग्रेटर, उसने कहा था 20% है ये, तो इसकी प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ सक्सेस 20% हो जाएगी 0.2। एन की वैल्यू 10 है, बाइनोमियल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है, प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ एक्स लेस देन 3 निकाल लें, 0 1 2 आपके पास आ जाएंगे आंसर। दैट वाज नॉट वेरी डिफिकल्ट। अच्छा उस पर आते हैं, वापस आता हूँ मैं उस पर। 5 1। अच्छा इसमें आपका क्वेश्चन ये है कि हम क्यों नहीं कर सकते, 5 3 था सॉरी। So your question is why can we not do 5c2 into 1/6 raised to power 2 into 5/6 whole raised to power 3. Acha. Find the probability that a 3 is obtained for the second time before the sixth row. How does that make sense in this? जैसे पहले भी आपने कुछ लिखा था ऊपर, ये लिखा था। अच्छा ये क्या कर रहा है, ये आप ये फाइंड कर रहा है प्रोबेबिलिटी कि फर्स्ट 5 में से 2 सक्सेसेस हो। अच्छा लेट मी डू इट लाइक दिस, 1 2 3 4 5, ये आपके पास 5 अटेम्प्ट्स हैं, 1 2 3 4 5। ये क्या कैलकुलेट करेगा कि पहले 5 अटेम्प्ट्स में से आपकी 5 सक्सेसेस आ रही हैं, ठीक है। अब व्हाई इज दैट नॉट द सेम एज दिस, बिकॉज 5 में से 2 सक्सेसेस आ रही हैं, राइट। आप कह रहे हो कि SSFFF फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ये भी हो सकता है सक्सेस सक्सेस एंड देन फेलियर फेलियर फेलियर। That does not make sense in this scenario because all we care about is कि जो सेकंड सक्सेस है ना वो सिक्स्थ रो से पहले आनी चाहिए, सेकंड सक्सेस सिक्स्थ रो से पहले आनी चाहिए। यानी कि वो सेकंड सक्सेस फिफ्थ में भी हो सकती है, फोर्थ में भी हो सकती है, थर्ड में भी हो सकती है, सेकंड में भी हो सकती है, बट उसके बाद क्या होता है वी डोंट केयर अबाउट दैट। तो अगर फॉर एग्जाम्पल सेकंड सक्सेस जो है वो सेकंड अटेम्प्ट पे आ जाती है, सेकंड सक्सेस सेकंड अटेम्प्ट पे आ जाती है, तो उसके बाद इन तीनों अटेम्प्ट्स में क्या होता है वी डोंट केयर अबाउट दैट। वो जरूरी नहीं है कि वो फेलियर्स होंगे आप बाद में, ये भी हो सकता है कि उसके बाद तीनों सक्सेसेस हो जाएं, 5 के 5 सक्सेस हो जाएं, ये भी हो सकता है उसके बाद आपके 2 और सक्सेसेस आए और फिर एक सक्सेस है 2 फेलियर्स आ जाएं, ये भी हो सकता है। दिस डज नॉट अकाउंट फॉर दैट पॉसिबिलिटी। सो वी डोंट केयर व्हाट हैपेंस आफ्टर द 2 सक्सेसेस। जब 2 सक्सेसेस आपके पास आ गई तो उसके बाद जो मर्जी है उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता, इसलिए यू हैव टू डू इट लाइक दिस। दिस इज वन वे ऑफ डूइंग दिस, कि आप कहें कि या तो फर्स्ट सक्सेस फिफ्थ सेकंड सक्सेस फिफ्थ अटेम्प्ट पे है या फोर्थ पे है या थर्ड पे है या सेकंड पे है। जब 2 सक्सेसेस आ जाएं उसके बाद हमें फर्क नहीं पड़ता उसके बाद क्या, उसके बाद सक्सेस भी हो सकती है, फेलियर भी हो सकता है। ये रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर रहा है कि एग्जैक्टली 2 ही सक्सेसेस होनी चाहिए पहले 5 में, 2 से ज्यादा भी तो हो सकती है, दैट इज पॉसिबल। ओके ठीक है, इसका ये एक अल्टरनेटिव तरीका था, मैंने एक्सप्लेन किया था एक अभी शॉर्ट वीडियो में पहले भी। आई विल नॉट गो थ्रू दैट अभी। अल्लाह हाफिज़ आयशा, ऑल द बेस्ट फॉर द एग्जाम, एवरीबॉडी एल्स एज वेल। What is the condition in cumulative frequency curve where we have to look for the value by subtracting from the total? वो जब वो कहते हैं ना कि probability, let me actually open a question for that. S1 crash course representation of data, cumulative frequency curve का भी question नजर आ रहा है यहाँ पे। अच्छा, तो ये मेरे पास एक कर्व है, ये कर्व है, इट्स फॉर सम डेटा लाइक दिस, जहाँ पे रूम्स की इंफॉर्मेशन है, कुछ उनकी कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फ्रीक्वेंसीज हैं, और वो कहता है estimate the number of days on which more than 80% of the rooms were booked. यहाँ पे वर्टिकल एक्सिस पे रूम्स है, जो फ्रीक्वेंसी है वो रूम्स है, और अच्छा नहीं सॉरी, हॉरिजॉन्टल एक्सिस पे रूम है, और वर्टिकल एक्सिस पे है कि नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स, वो कितने नंबर ऑफ डेज जिन पे वो रूम्स बुक्ड थे। तो यहाँ पे वो कह रहे हैं नंबर ऑफ डेज आपने एस्टिमेट करने हैं जब 80% से ज्यादा रूम्स बुक्ड थे, 80% से ज्यादा रूम्स बुक्ड थे। अच्छा, टोटल नंबर ऑफ रूम्स यहां पे थे 90, 90 का 80% क्या होएगा, इट विल बी 72। ठीक है, तो अब ये 72 जो नंबर आ रहा है, इससे ज्यादा राइट साइड वाला पॉइंट आपको देखना है कि इससे ज्यादा रूम्स कब बुक्ड थे। तो जब ये मोर देन समथिंग आता है ना, या ग्रेटर देन समथिंग, तो उसमें आप हॉरिजॉन्टल एक्सिस पे राइट साइड वाला पॉइंट देख रहे होते हो, तो ग्राफ पे फिर ये इसका टॉप वाला पॉइंट होता है ये, और वर्टिकल एक्सिस पे भी आप ये ऊपर वाला पार्ट देख रहे होते हो। तो ये आप कैसे फाइंड करोगे, फिर आप 72 के कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग देखोगे, 184 आ रहा है इस ग्राफ के ऊपर, तो अब ऊपर से देखो 200 माइनस 184, दैट गिव्स यू 16। तो जब मोर देन समथिंग आया या ग्रेटर देन समथिंग आया ना इस तरह के प्रॉब्लम्स के अंदर, तो फिर आपको राइट साइड पे देखना है हॉरिजॉन्टल एक्सिस पे, और ऊपर देखना है वर्टिकल एक्सिस पे। आई होप दैट मेक्स सेंस। अगर आपको और कोई स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन है तो यू कैन हैव अ लुक एट दैट। अल्लाह हाफिज़ शेयर, ऑल द बेस्ट, अच्छा करके आए इंशाल्लाह। ओके, May June 24, May June 24 का क्या क्वेश्चन 3 है? ओके, लेट मी गो थ्रू दैट। जी हमाद, आपके कोई प्रॉब्लम तो आप मुझे बता सकते हैं, अदरवाइज यूर फ्री टू लीव। रिविजन आप कर लें, रिविजन करें, और देखें कि आपका कोई छोटा सा कोई भी कॉन्सेप्ट आपका भूला नहीं हुआ। जी बिल्कुल, अगर लेस देन होता तो फिर ओरिजिनल वैल्यू ले लेते, अगर लेस देन होता तो वही ओरिजिनल वैल्यू ले लेते, बिल्कुल। ठीक है, नवंबर 25 पेपर 53। अच्छा, ये दो क्वेश्चंस देखते हैं, नवंबर 25 पेपर 53 और जून 24 वाला। नवंबर 25 ये कहाँ गया, पेपर 53, पार्ट सी ऑफ क्वेश्चन नंबर, लास्ट क्वेश्चन का, not actually attempted this before. चलिए, let's do it. Within 1 minute of the mean time to walk to work, 5 days a week for 45 weeks in a year. So times taken by him to walk to work each morning are normally distributed. Mean is this and standard deviation is this. Find the probability that on a random chosen day achieve. हमने कर लिया पहले. On a particular day takes more than 15.6 minutes to walk to work. ओके, तो फर्स्ट पार्ट आपने कर लिया, ये प्रोबेबिलिटी निकाल ली, ये ईच मॉर्निंग का आपके पास डेटा है, मीन एंड स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन, ये भी आपने फाइंड कर लिया। अच्छा, अब वो कहते हैं ही वर्क्स टू वर्क 5 days a week for 45 weeks in a year, 45 weeks 5 days, on how many days in a year would you expect him to take within 1 minute of the mean time to walk to work? आप एक दिन की प्रोबेबिलिटी निकाल लें, एक दिन की प्रोबेबिलिटी निकालें, क्या आती है, विद इन 1 मिनट, यानी कि मीन क्या है, मीन इज 14.8, सो 14.8 का विद इन 1 मिनट क्या होगा, +-1, राइट? सो +1 राइट साइड पे, 15.8, और लेफ्ट साइड पे क्या हो जाएगा, 13.8। तो आपको प्रोबेबिलिटी निकालनी है ऑफ x बीइंग बिटवीन 13.8 एंड 15.8। फाइंड दिस प्रोबेबिलिटी, कन्वर्ट इट टू z। z में कन्वर्ट करें, 13.8 minus 14.8 divided by the standard deviation, which was 1.5, and 15.8 minus 14.8 divided by 1.5. ये आपके पास probability आ जाएगी कुछ 1/1.5, that is going to be 0.667 negative, और 0.667 पॉजिटिव। ये आपके पास बन जाएगा z लेस देन 0.667 प्लस प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ z लेस देन 0.667 -1। ये टेबल से देखें, आपके पास एक प्रोबेबिलिटी का नंबर आएगा। अब उसकी एक्सपेक्टेड वैल्यू निकाल लें। 5 days for 45 weeks, 5 into 45 कितना होता है? आई थिंक दैट्स 225, राइट? मल्टीप्लाई दैट नंबर बाय 225 एंड दैट विल गिव यू द रिजल्ट। एक्सपेक्टेड नंबर आ जाएगा आपके पास, ठीक है? ओके, अच्छा, जून 24 पेपर 5-2। बाइनोमियल टू नॉर्मल अप्रॉक्सीमेशन में जब करते हैं तो मार्क स्कीम में नहीं, एक्चुअल वैल्यूज नहीं यूज होती, आपको कंटिन्यूटी करेक्शन करनी पड़ती है, दैट्स नेसेसरी। आप मुझे बता दें कौन सी मार्किंग स्कीम है उसने किया हुआ, आई कैन हैव अ लुक एट दैट। June 24 पेपर 5-2। ओके, वी ऑलमोस्ट एंडिंग नाउ इंशाल्लाह। पेपर 5-2, इसका कौन सा क्वेश्चन? 3A। What's the problem with this? उसने कहा large orange weighs at least 184 grams. So you say probability of x greater than equal to 184, ये फाइंड कर लें। Convert it to z, find the probability, write that as a percentage। इसमें क्या मसला है? Are you sure you're asking about this question? This is June 24 paper 5-2, June 24 paper 5-2। काफी आसान था। ठीक है, all right, चलें, all the best for your exam then, make sure that you have a good night's sleep, that's extremely important। S1 में आपको काफ़ी सोचना पड़ता है, उसके लिए ज़रूरी है कि आपका माइंड बहुत फ्रेश हो, so make sure that you sleep well, that's important। और आपको बस इस टाइम के ऊपर रिविज़न करनी है, खुद से बहुत ज़्यादा प्रैक्टिस अब इस पॉइंट पे ना करें। लास्ट होल ईयर वाज फॉर दैट कि आप अपने हाथ से प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हो। अब बस रिवाइज कर लें तो आपके छोटे छोटे डिटेल जो हैं, यू मेक श्योर दैट यू आर नॉट मिसिंग आउट इन एनी स्मॉल डिटेल दैट मे बी टेस्टेड, देन यू शुड बी गुड टू गो इंशाल्लाह। कल एग्ज़ाम के लिए मेक श्योर दैट यू डू नॉट गेट स्टक एट एनी पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन, दैट्स एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर एनी एग्ज़ाम इन जनरल। बट ये छोटे वाले एग्जाम्स हैं, 75 मिनट टाइम होता है, 75 मिनट्स टाइम होता है सिर्फ। आप एक क्वेश्चन पर स्टक हो जाएं तो आपका पूरा जो क्वेश्चन है वो ख़राब हो जाता है, पूरा जो पेपर है वो ख़राब हो जाता है, आपके आसान मार्क्स जो हैं वो रह जाते हैं, ठीक है? इस वीडियो के स्टार्ट में भी मैंने एक्सप्लेन किया, शहीद लुक एट द फर्स्ट 10-15 मिनट्स और 20 मिनट्स, उसमें आपको मिल जाएगा। मैं फर्स्ट 20 मिनट्स देखें, वो मैंने दोबारा से थोड़ा सा एक्सप्लेन किया, थोड़ा स्लो, मे बी यू कैन हैव अ लुक एट दैट इसी वीडियो के स्टार्ट में, ठीक है? बाइनोमियल टू नॉर्मल अप्रॉक्सीमेशन, दैट्स व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, उसमें कंटिन्यूटी करेक्शन तो हमेशा होती है। अगर आप मुझे, अच्छा, क्या बाइनोमियल टू नॉर्मल नहीं है? किसकी बात कर रहे हैं? ये क्वेश्चन, ये तो बायनॉमियल टू नॉर्मल नहीं है, ये क्यों होगा? ये तो नॉर्मल 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 डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है शुरू से ही। उमर, वो ऑड और इवन पे में डिफरेंट होता है ना, कि वो मीडियन वैल्यू इंक्लूड करेंगे या नहीं करेंगे, वो इवन और ऑड में डिफरेंट होता है। इवन और ऑड में डिफरेंट होता है। अगर आप कौन सा था वो? हम्म, अगर आपकी इवन नंबर ऑफ वैल्यूज होंगी तो मीडियन जो है वो दो वैल्यूज के दरमियान में आता है, तो इसमें तो एक राइट साइड वाला हाफ बन जाएगा, एक लेफ्ट साइड वाला हाफ बन जाएगा। अगर आपके पास नंबर ऑफ वैल्यूज जो है वो ऑड हैं, तो उस केस में मीडियन इज गोइंग टू बी वन वैल्यू इन द डेटा। यहाँ पे फॉर एग्जांपल 11 वैल्यूज थी, तो ये 42 वाज द मीडियन। तो इसमें आप मीडियन को एक्सक्लूड कर दोगे, ये राइट साइड वाला पार्ट होगा और ये लेफ्ट साइड वाला पार्ट होगा। उनके मीडियंस लोअर क्वार्टाइल और अपर क्वार्टाइल होंगे। ठीक है। How many yearly should you have done? Now, there's no point of that question. Just do revision now. अब जो होना था वो तो हो गया ना। डू व्हाट इज इन योर कंट्रोल ना। जो बाकी टाइम है आपके पास, मेक द बेस्ट यूज ऑफ दिस। जो 3-4 घंटे आप और भी कर 2-3 घंटे मोर लाइकली वो आप अच्छा यूज कर सकते हैं। मैक्सिमम टाइम कितना देना है सवाल को? वेल, इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द क्वेश्चन। कुछ क्वेश्चंस में आप टाइम सेव करेंगे शुरू में, रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ डेटा क्वेश्चंस के अंदर, स्टैंडर्ड बाइनोमियल ज्योमेट्रिक क्वेश्चन के अंदर, प्रोबेबिलिटी का अगर आसान वाला क्वेश्चन है उसमें आप टाइम सेव कर सकते हो। नॉर्मल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन अगर एक स्टैंडर्ड क्वेश्चन है उसमें आप टाइम सेव सेव कर सकते हो। एंड देन सेव टाइम फॉर द मोर डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस, वो आपने एंड के लिए रखना है। एंड दरमियान में कोई बहुत मुश्किल क्वेश्चन लेकर नहीं बैठ जाना, इस पर आप स्टक हो जाएं। अदरवाइज आपके आसान क्वेश्चन एंड पे रह सकते हैं। दरमियान में स्टक नहीं होना, बस कुछ नहीं समझ आ रहा आगे चलें। बाकी कोई पेपर जो आपको आता है वो कर लें पहले, उसके बाद यू डू द रेस्ट ऑफ इट। दिस इज वन नोट। दिस इज वन नोट। लोअर क्वार्टल और अपर क्वार्टल पोजीशंस अगर डेसिमल्स में है, वो डेसिमल्स में कैसे आएंगी? वो जिस तरह मीडियन निकालते हैं वो 0.5 वाला हो सकता है उसके अंदर भी। जिस तरह अगर मैं ये वाली एग्जांपल दिखाऊं आपको, इसको क्या हो रहा है, ये इस वाली एग्जांपल के अंदर फॉर इंस्टेंस लेफ्ट साइड वाले पार्ट का मीडियन जो है वो इधर आ रहा है, तो लोअर क्वार्टाइल इनका मिड होएगा। राइट साइड वाले पार्ट का मीडियन इन दोनों के दरमियान में आ रहा है, तो इनकी एवरेज ले लेंगे वो 57.5 आ जाएगा। लेकिन ये आपने हाफ में डिवाइड करके ऐसे करना होता है। आई एम फ्रॉम लाहौर, आई एम नॉट फ्रॉम कराची। March 24 पेपर 5 2, March 24, March 24, March 24 किधर है क्या? सिक्स सी। Okay, members stand in two rows, six rows, six on the back, four on the front. There are 6 men, 4 women, 10 members in total. Okay, so these 10 people are supposed to stand in two rows with six in the back row and four in the front row. So ये मैंने back और front rows यहाँ पे बना ली. These two siblings, they have to be next to each other in the front row. तो आपने उनको फ्रंट रो में कर दिया, एक तो फिक्स कर दिया फ्रंट रो में कि वो इधर ही होने चाहिए फ्रंट रो में। ठीक है। अब इनके साथ दो और लोग आएंगे, उनको मैंने एक्स वाई से रिप्रेजेंट कर दिया, लेट्स से, ठीक है। जो बाकी दोनों लोग हैं उनको एक्स वाई से रिप्रेजेंट कर दिया, ओके। तो अब ये दो लोग हैं, इनको सेलेक्ट करने के कितने वेज हैं? आपको ये पहले डिसाइड करना है ना, कौन से लोग कौन से वाले सीट्स पे जाएंगे, फ्रंट में या बैक में, या कौन सी रो में जाएंगे। तो आपको ये तो पता है कि वो जो दोनों लोग हैं ओ और पी, वो तो फ्रंट रो में है, वो तो फिक्स हो गए। लेकिन जो बाकी दो लोग वहां पे होंगे, वो आप कैसे फिगर आउट कर सकते हो? आप कहोगे आउट ऑफ द रिमेनिंग 8 पीपल सेलेक्ट 2 फॉर दोज 2 प्लेसेस दैट आर लेफ्ट। इसकी जगह पे आप ये भी कर सकते थे, 8C6 भी कर सकते थे, कि नीचे वाले रो के लिए 6 लोग सेलेक्ट कर लें, एक ही बात है, दोनों सेम नंबर आता है। जब आपने सेलेक्ट कर लिया, नाउ यू जस्ट हैव टू अरेंज दोज पीपल। ऊपर वाली रो के अंदर आप कहेंगे देयर आर 3 बॉक्सेस, 3 फैक्टोरियल, और फिर ये जो ओ और पी है दरम्यान में, वो अपने प्लेसेस स्विच कर सकते हैं, 2 फैक्टोरियल फॉर दैट। और नीचे वाली रो के अंदर 6 फैक्टोरियल, एंड दैट गिव्स यू द रिजल्ट। इट वाजंट दैट कॉम्प्लिकेटेड, ठीक है। कंटिन्यूटी करेक्शन वाला जो है, वो बाइनोमियल टू नॉर्मल अप्रॉक्सीमेशन सिर्फ वहां पे होता है, बाइनोमियल टू नॉर्मल अप्रॉक्सीमेशन। रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ डेटा की अगर बात करें, उसकी मैंने शॉर्ट वीडियो पोस्ट किया रिसेंटली, यू कैन हैव अ लुक एट दैट। अस्सलाम वालेकुम। Okay, everyone. All the best for your exam then. All the best for your exam. Make sure not to get stuck, please, on any one question. That's the most important thing that you need to remember. Do the questions that you know first how to do. Permutations, combination वाला question कोई मुश्किल वाला है, कोई part, पूरा question तो मुश्किल नहीं होता, एक दो parts आसान ही होते हैं। Last part जो है वो normally कुछ tricky आ जाता है, वो बस आपने end के लिए छोड़ देना है। Probability का distribution का कोई बहुत मुश्किल question आ जाए, वो end के लिए छोड़ दें, बाकी paper पहले कर लें। Generally बाकी questions काफ़ी standard होते हैं। Make sure to do them first, and then you have enough time for the remaining questions to be able to think about them a bit slowly. Okay, that's it. I'll see you again in the next session, and then inshallah, after you're done with your S1, those of you are taking composite exams, I'll be starting P3 classes from tomorrow, inshallah, P3 sessions from tomorrow. Allah Hafiz. All the best. दुआ में याद रखें आप लोग भी. I'll also make dua for all of you, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.